tuatahi. A tēnā koutou, kei te mihi ki oku nei whanaunga te atiawa, Ngāti tō rangatira, taranaki whānui tēnā koutou katoa. E rangatira mā ki a koutou, e whakahuhui mai ki konei te āhuatanga o te rā nei tēnā rā koutou katoa. Ko Miriama Kamo tōku ingoa ko kaitahu me Ngāti Mutunga o kuiwi. Nā reire te iwi tēnei te mihi nunui ki a koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā koutou katoa. So, have you ever been asked to do something and wondered how on earth anyone could have thought you were the right person to do it? Yeah? I can't do it, I'm not qualified, I don't understand it, I'd love to do it, but I'm terrified and I might fail. Does that sound familiar? This is how I felt when I was asked to become patron of the New Zealander of the Year Awards. Now, the awards are a prestigious affair. It's where we honour those who have stepped up and changed our country. These are community leaders, innovators, luminaries, and problem solvers. We've honoured knights and dames, fighters and change makers like mental health advocate Mike King, anthropologist Dame Anne Salmond, pay parity activist Christine Bartlett, filmmaker Taika Waititi, and some of the speakers at this festival, including the organiser, the brilliant Guy Ryan. And here I was being asked to be the patron to take over from former Prime Minister Jim Bolger and guide the awards, and I felt wildly unqualified. I'd already been a judge for 4 years, and that to me was the pinnacle of privilege. So the request from a wonderful woman called Sarah is one that I remember clearly, and it went something like this. Sarah, and as a team, we've been thinking, who could take on the awards and build on them? Miri. Oh, how exciting. I'm going to be asked to suggest some names for patron. Sarah. And we were wondering if you, Miri, I've got great ideas. I know exactly. I've got some fantastic ideas for you. Sarah would consider becoming the patron. Miri. And I had this wildly quick, crazy, world's fastest argument going on in my head. Is she crazy? What are they thinking? But you could do it. No, I can't. You're going to have to say yes. You could say no, but why would you say no? Because you're wildly unqualified. What qualifies us to be leaders? How do we step into that scary and exciting place when that other voice is going on and creating fear and uncertainty? What do we do with that fear when it threatens to stop us from succeeding? Well, for me, it is about owning our own story, in particular, our whole story. So today I want to talk about owning the story, our personal story, our whānau and community story, our nation story, and how that can empower us to overcome self-doubt, anxiety, fear, and lead us to certainty in an uncertain future. My story starts in South Brighton, in Christchurch. I was raised in a working class home with a lot of kids and a lot of wider whānau. We didn't have a lot of money. I went to a state high school with a bad rep, which was pinned really to just having a high Maori and Pasifika population. In other words, our school was badly underestimated. And that was handy sometimes when, in addition to constantly winning sports tournaments, our school kept winning the National Sheila Wynne Shakespeare Festival. No one saw us coming. My parents were Catholic prison chaplains and social justice activists who taught their 5 kids that inequity is at the root of so many challenges that our society faces. And we were encouraged to see the whole person, to understand their whole story. And I have taken that into my work as a journalist for Sunday and Marae, the 2 current affairs programs that I work on. As a journalist, I am passionate about the whole story, not just the headline, not just the angle, but the whole story. For me, the whole story is always the best story, with all the messy, inconvenient, tricky bits that don't fit the narrative. If we look into, rather than away from the dark corners and grey areas, it is here that I believe the best story comes to life. So my story is that I am a journalist, and mentor, a mother of two, a wife, a sister, an aunt, a friend. I'm an author, a board member, an ambassador, a zero waste advocate. As an innovator, as Christina said, I am a founding trustee of Kotahiro Puka Puka, which is translating 100 books into te reo. But my whole story includes pregnancy loss, early menopause attached to endometriosis, which makes it harder to remember things, so I'm never without my notes. I hear your memory comes back. I'm looking forward to that. Anxiety, very low blood pressure, which causes dizziness. I don't speak te reo fluently. I actually have very frizzy hair, not the sleek look that you see on the telly. And despite all that I have achieved, I still have that tricky voice, the one that whispers, come on, you can't do that. It's the voice that says, I don't know what this means for me. What if it hurts? What if I don't know how to do it? What if I get humiliated? At the root of all of these worries is one word: fear. We don't want to feel uncertain, exposed, and vulnerable. We are designed by nature to seek shelter and safety. So change feels scary, and we don't want to feel frightened. But what I've learned is that leaders aren't without that tricky voice. It isn't the absence of fear that allows a leader to lead. Great leaders feel the fear and do it anyway. They know that by looking into, rather than away from what frightens us, is how progress is made, community is built, and great things are achieved. One of the fastest ways to quell fear is to face into it, explore it, acknowledge it, then ask it to step aside so that we can do the mahi. So I did that. I accepted the patron role, and then I was able to turn my attention to the 3 areas that I wanted to see improved across the awards, the areas that I'd seen in the 4 years previously as a judge that I knew needed attention. And with the awards team, Brown Bread, and key sponsor Kiwibank, we set about making all of that happen. So we're building the first New Zealander of the Year alumni network. We're creating a pastoral care model to take care of those who win, because with honours like New Zealander of the Year, often they come with more responsibility, more exposure, and too often more criticism. And one area that I'm really passionate about is that we're working on the importance of a partnership lens, ensuring that our awards are embedded in treaty principles so that we can be inclusive and representative of the values this country agreed to. And in doing that, we can be more diverse, more welcoming, and more inclusive of all communities, ensuring that these awards are for all New Zealanders. But we've had to ask ourselves some hard questions in that process. What is New Zealand, and who is a New Zealander? What are we aiming, and who are we aiming to honour, and to what end? How can we ensure our mindset is, what are we humbly offering, rather than grandly bestowing? Does our awards front door look like our country? And how do we activate in all communities so that all New Zealanders feel included and able to be nominated in these awards? Many of these questions are hard because they go to the heart of identity, of belonging, and of the right to be here. They are questions which very often evoke fear. We can see that fear reflected in those who are railing against te reo inclusion, against learning our history, against understanding what our country was built on. They are frightened that to accept our shared story might make them feel bad or guilty. At some level, they're thinking, what if accepting this takes something away from me? What if I must give up my gains to accept that others have been dispossessed? But when we own our history, the whole story, the hard and confronting bits, all the joyful and courageous bits, the innovative and pioneering bits, fear no longer has a place. We see that a true partnership of ideas and ideals doesn't need to sacrifice anything to gain everything. So I see our country's shared history as a korowai, a cloak that embraces us all in our differences and our combined hopes. In knowing our history, our shared story, our whole story, we can handle the challenges of the future. working together through climate change, hate crime, pandemics, natural disasters, and discrimination of all kinds. We can be not just leaders, but world leaders if we stand with confidence in our shared story. We can ensure that all New Zealanders, no matter where they've come from, find their place in our country, certain that they are respected in our collective story. And so, I humbly ask, it is nomination time for New Zealander of the Year. Make sure that the whole story of those you know, those you admire, those you love are recognised. You can nominate these people for the next 4 weeks. Go to nzawards.org.nz. We have 7 categories, including Young New Zealander of the Year, so many of you will qualify for this, and we have a new category as well, a sustainability category. So help us make these awards sing for the entire country, which is what they are meant to do. And lastly, my wero is, the next time you hear that tricky voice saying, "You can't," reply, "Hello, fear." Acknowledge it, honour it, and then ask it to step aside so that you can do the mahi. Let fear just be a part of your whole story, the whole story of your leadership journey. And we know the next 10 years will be challenging in many ways, but I believe with all my heart that our strength and the solutions we need lie in accepting and honouring our shared story, our whole story together as a country. E te iwi, tēnei te mihi nui kia koutou katoa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā koutou, katoa.